Well, hey there, you're on the internet. Welcome to Shimmertastic Week and Change, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie dip nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink is part of the Diamine Shimmertastic Series, provided by the benefactor from down under, the formerly requested to be known as He Who Shall Not Be Named. He provided the entire Shimmertastic line. You can see some of the silvery glitter in there. Along with Emerald of Chivor. And full disclosure, these inks are not my jam. This is not really my thing, it's not what I'm into. However, I am here for the people. So, yes, we will do this. Now, this is Diamine's Night Sky, which alphabetically is 6 out of 10. Sorry, I just had to turn around and check. It is their black ink of the series. Honestly, when I was looking at the samples, I didn't think that there was a black. I thought that there was a gray and then a light gray. So, yeah, I was actually, in the early test, I was like, it almost looks black from some angles. Yeah, no. It's supposed to be black. And as you can tell, probably from the way it's coating the container, it's a black ink. So, that was me apparently just being foolish. So, yeah. Night Sky. Now, the two pens I used were these. So, this is a Kaweco Ice with a double broad nib. And this is a Pilot Metropolitan with a Japanese medium nib. Now, every single one of these inks that I tested, I used a Metropolitan or a Metropolitan derivative like the MR. I used 5 different Metropolitans, and every single one had the same problem, which is glitter pileup, which is where the glitter would get caught in the feed system, get stuck, and then the next bit of glitter would get stuck behind it and behind it and behind it. So the longer it was in the pen, the longer I was writing with it, the more the glitter would back up and would have more trouble flowing out, and by the end, this happened. Yeah, and that's what it looked like cleaning out every single one of these pens afterwards. And it would just start caking the feed, and you'll see as we go further and further into the test, the less glitter shows up out of this pen. Now, the thing is, so all of the glitter in these inks will fall out of suspension and will sink to the bottom. And I think when I was drawing up ink, so I shook it, and then I drew up the ink, but I think when I was doing that, I think I might have caught just an inordinate amount of glitter to ink ratio, because I also had flow problems with the double broad, which I did not have with the other inks that I tested in this series. I think I used this for 3 tests, and 2 out of the 3 were fine, or relatively fine, because it was a pain to clean out all of these pens. So much glitter. Yeah, so just disclosure. Yeah. Night Sky. Now, admittedly, I think that this is a great idea. Like, if you've seen what I was talking about with Brandy Dazzle a couple days ago, it's gold with gold sheen, and the yellow was already a fairly light color, and then you're adding a light metallic that reflects. It's actually kind of hard to see, whereas I feel like if you take this silver, which almost turns white, and contrast it with a very dark color like this, essentially a black, I don't know, there's more of a contrast, it's more pronounced, there's something a bit more dramatic about it, so I think that's kind of a good idea, I like that. But admittedly, Gerobin has several inks that shimmer, or are glittery, and they don't have a black one, so mostly the comparison inks that I have for you today are just comparable to the black color underneath the glitter, so yeah. From the top, we've got Lamy Black, which we turn to the side. See, it's got some light parts, it's got some dark parts. This maybe just gets a bit lighter in some areas. Gerobin's Beurre Noir, which again, maybe gets a bit lighter in some areas, but very similar, because these almost have it's almost like a purpley undertone a little bit. Next up is Diamine's Jet Black, which I think is, again, maybe gets a bit lighter, but fairly similar. And lastly, Noodler's Manhattan Project Dark Matter, which which I'd say if this one has a little bits of purple, this one has little hits of green maybe, but yeah. There you go. Comparisons. Now, bear with me, I am going to zoom in so we can look at these chromatographies, and that can be a little awkward. Okay, so here we go. This one with a little D at the top is the one that I let dry. This one is the one that I did how you're supposed to, where you put a line of ink and instantly dunk it in the water. And as you can see, there is a good bit of resistance. A lot of the tests we've done so far, there's like a big blank space because there is essentially no water resistance. Here you can see that something is fighting it. And you can see that this is actually a pretty dense color. So there's a lot of ink in this ink besides the glitter. So yeah, there's that. And then the dried version is largely the same, except I'd say the spot around the initial drop is a bit darker. And maybe the stuff going up is a bit darker too, but yeah, still largely the same. There we go. Now, here's what I've just sort of come to call chemical test, and look at this. Like, that's a dramatic change. There's something, there's something kind of like intense about that. But anyways, water test, got it moving perfectly fine. Bleach didn't completely get rid of it, just sort of turned it this like beigey kind of color. Ammonia pen flush, got it moving. Hydrogen peroxide got it moving. But honestly, water did just fine. Just a lot of it. So, yeah. Alright, now paper test, top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. Holy moly, yeah. So we're going to start out holding it to the side, just so we don't get distracted by all the shiny. Now, personally, and this is a personal thing, I know many people aren't like this, I prefer my black inks not to shade. I love it in colored inks, not so much in the black inks, but this one, what's interesting, I think in the Metro up at the top, we don't really get any shading. Here in the Kaweco, we get a little. Not much, but a little. Yeah, that Japanese medium took 17 seconds to dry. The double broad Kaweco took 32. Could have been worse, right? And as you can see from the side, for the most part, I mean, here it looks a little gray, but for the most part, it looks like a black ink. Or at least a super dark gray. And then, look at that. Look at how bright and silvery it gets. That's a very dramatic change. But also, I want to show you these smears. See how dense that color is? I mean, you can barely see the lines underneath the smears. There's a lot of ink in this ink. This is not a thin ink. So these long dry times make sense because the under component, the black ink, is wet flowing. It's a dense paper. It's got glitter in it. These, honestly, all those powers combined, like, dry times could have been a heck of a lot worse. So yeah, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. All very good in that regard. Water test, though, the good or bad of that, chromatography, making it look like it's not going to just lay down and submit, go quietly into that dark night. Yeah, it's messy. And that's a theme we'll see. It did dye the page. It left a big old smudge. But you can see that some of it really did want to remain. It really tried. Even that Japanese medium, there is something there. So, I don't know. If your life depended on it, for some reason you were using this ink to write something that your life depended on, you could recover something. Now, next up is Fabriano Eco Qua. It's an 85 gram per square meter paper. It's my favorite paper to write on. Again, Japanese medium took 17 seconds to dry. Double broad Kaweco took 33. And again, look at how dense that smear is. There's a lot of ink in this ink. And again, we get almost no shading except maybe here in the scrubby for the Kaweco. But yeah, and then like this, and it just goes pure silver. Just all silver all the time. Yeah, here's where I start talking about flow issues because that was a bit of a problem. But again, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. Very well behaved in that regard. And again, the water test is a bit, it's scrappy, it's a fighter. Dyed the page, and there's something remaining. Like, I don't know, if your life depended on it, you probably could recover that. Would it be fun? Probably not. Next up is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Now here we're going to see something that I don't know if I'm going to be able to get on camera, but I am going to try. But yeah, so that Japanese medium took 17 seconds to dry. The double broad Kaweco took 33 and absolutely went clean off the page. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Do you see some of that? Like, you see how it almost like starts to turn red before it turns silver? Do you see that? Like, especially in the top scrubby? I don't know if that's sheen, but I think it is, because it's a different color before it turns silver, and they don't necessarily line up directly on top of each other. Like, okay. I want you to look right here. This, right where the tip of that is, you see how it shines, and then I keep turning, and it doesn't turn quite as silver as the bit right next to it. I think there might be some kind of sheeny thing going on, but one turns sort of like a graphite color, and one turns like a silver color. So I don't know. Is it sheen? I'm not sure, but I thought it was interesting. And it does dry quickly on the nib, which is something to be aware of. That is something that a lot of these inks have been doing. But yeah, anyways, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. That's awesome. Water test. Again, it dyed the page, but there is a little something there, and even with the medium. So I don't know. If your life's dependent on it, maybe I wouldn't, bet my last dollar, but, it's better than nothing. Now, next up is Tomoe River paper, which is known for drawing out shading and sheen and dry times and echo. And we definitely got pretty much all of those. Now, the drawn out dry times, that Japanese medium took 21 seconds to dry. That double broad took 46 and clean off the page. And here, definitely in that bottom scrubby, we can see some of that shading. It is a bit more gray. Now again, I'm going to turn it to the side. See how it's that color first, and then it turns silver, and not all of it does. I'm telling you, I think it's sheen, but it's like it turns like from a black to like a graphite. I don't know, it's very unique. But anyways, as I say, logically epic dry times. And since this paper is very thin, and this is a black ink, regardless of the glitter, and you are going to get some echo or some show through if you're very sensitive to it. I personally am, and so definitely with this double broad, that would kind of start to bother me. So it's something to be aware of. Now, this paper does love to let ink slide away when you add more water, and it didn't. Which I was actually surprised by. It dyed the page. A lot of times inks don't dye the page, because since it, loves to let ink just slide away when you mop up the water, it's as if something, there's no puddle left. But here, that's actually pretty clear. That really surprised me. So I don't know. Certainly better than nothing. Now for the next 3 tests, I only used the Japanese medium, except to write the name. And this, oh dear God, it's just like the world's worst. 20-pound copier paper. I don't know if I've encountered paper worse than this. Oh God. Now, here is that Japanese medium on Tomoe River. Here is that Japanese medium on the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. There is a very, okay. Yeah, see, there's the X450. There's a lot of spread. But what's interesting is there's really not much feathering. I thought that was interesting. There's very dramatic spread, but really not much feathering. Which was, you don't always see that. And it's still very dark on here. And we don't get a ton of glittering because, the glitter, because as I said with the pile up in the feed, as we go on, we get less and less. And yet we know it's possible because look at that in the Kaweco where I wrote the name. There's still glitter everywhere. Here, it's just in little spots. So, yeah. Here's what most surprised me. Yeah. Yeah. There's like the odd little spot where you can see something's going on the other side. Even the scrubby. Look, even with that double broad, we only get like little bits of it. That was not a result I was expecting. Spread? Yeah, that's something this paper does. But essentially no feathering? No bleed? Not even much show through? I mean, I don't know how that happened. That really surprised me. Because again, this is the black component of the ink. Regardless of the glitter. is wet flowing. And with all that glitters piling up, it's acting like a sieve, letting that ink through, and I was not expecting these results. Now, this is a more absorbent paper. More absorbent paper tends to draw the ink in, make it harder to wash out, and it did, but often it can make it freak out. Here, it really didn't. It started to dye the page, but it didn't feather, didn't explode, didn't even spread any more than it did above. That's very recoverable. That really surprised me. Now, next up is Mead-like paper. I ran out of actual Mead and had to use a Staples brand knockoff, and I think it was blessed by dark sorcery because it's behaving perfectly. Like, we look here, there's no spread. There was no spread. And there was no bleed. None. Anywhere. No echo, no show through, no nothing, not even the water test. And we get sheen or shading or whatever that is, because you see how you've got the graphite and then the silver. So, I don't know, 9 seconds to dry. Oh, by the way, on the 20 pound it took 4 seconds. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, I don't know. Apparently this stuff ages well, because it's got to be like 7, 8 years old or something like that. Anyways, dyed the page. Most of it's gone. This is what I mean. It's behaving like a premium paper where it released most of it. But yeah, again, you know, if you had to recover that, if your life depended on it, maybe you could. Now, lastly is Moleskine notebook paper, which is terrible. It's terrible stuff. It's very expensive, and it's poorly made. Now, I am going to turn this sideways. See that glitter? No? That's because it isn't there. At this point, the glitter stopped. No more glitter. Glitter all gone. No more. You get a little bit in the scrubby, but just a little bit. And then this is what's really weird. You see the heart of the A? No more. Nope. Night sky, written with the double broad. That's there. Everywhere else, no. Now here it took 3.5 seconds to dry. Here we get what I call bad shading, because the ink is glomming onto the little fibers that make up the paper, and it's just ugly. You get feathering, you get woolliness. It's bad, and yeah, bleed, and more bleed. And again, this is a Japanese medium. So how much you pay for this? That's unacceptable. Now, I don't know if the camera's going to show this, but there is actually, the paper reacted very oddly to the ink and the water. Do you see how there's almost like a secondary line? It runs right where the tip of this thing is, above the rest, because it started to act like chromatography paper. Even after I softened it up, I couldn't soak up all the extra water, and it kept trying to draw the water further up the page. That's just how cheaply made this stuff is. Now, even the world's worst 20-pound copier paper, which I have repeatedly admitted is probably the worst thing I've ever encountered, this is what its water test looked like. It didn't spread, didn't feather, let go of some of the ink, and then when mopping it up, it dyed the rest of the page. And then we get this. It starts to, like, break apart. It starts to just, like, bleed ink. I hate Moleskine. I hate ending on Moleskine because it leaves me in such a... Anyways, so, there you go. Diamine Shimmertastic Night Sky, which is a black ink. Unbeknownst to me, because I thought it was supposed to be just a darker gray. And the other one was pastel gray. I don't know. But yeah, be careful with entry-level Pilot pens with the feed, because it is a pain in the butt to clean. But overall, actually very well-behaved black ink. Honestly, if I could, like, figure out a way to, like, siphon off the top and just leave the glitter, that'd probably be a very decent enough black. Yeah, so anyways, there you go for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.